All right. So I thought we would start with the reading the discourse on the better way to live alone. And the reason why is because the title of today is, can you all hear me? Just want to make sure. I titled this, Where is My Beautiful Life? Okay. Thinking about what's happening to, with this, what we're going through in this year with COVID-19 and whatever else. And so in contemplating, where is my life been? Where is my life going? Things like that. So when we do that, we need to look at, we have a very strong understanding of, be here now sort of thing. So how do we contemplate the past, the present, the future in a way that's quote unquote suitable for meditators as opposed to, because in meditation, we're supposed to be in the present moment, right? So, it sounds a little bit like a contradiction. So that's why I thought we should start with the Sutra on the Better Way to Live Alone. And I actually have the poem on, so this way you can see it. And let me just make sure. Okay, here we go. The discourse on knowing the better way to live alone. I heard these words of the Buddha one time when the Lord was staying at the monastery in the Jeddah Grove in the town of Shravasti. He called all the monks to him and instructed them, "Bhikshus," and the bhikshus replied, "We are here." The Blessed One taught, "I will teach you what is meant by knowing the better way to live alone. I will begin with an outline of the teaching, and then I will give a detailed explanation. Bhikshus, please listen carefully." Blessed One, we are listening. The Buddha taught, "Do not pursue the past. Do not lose yourself in the future. The past no longer is. The future has not yet come. Looking deeply at life as it is in the very here and now, the practitioner dwells in stability and freedom. We must be diligent today. To wait till tomorrow is too late. Death comes unexpectedly. How can we bargain with it? The sage calls a person who knows how to dwell in mindfulness night and day, the one who knows the better way to live alone. Bhikshus, what do we mean by pursuing the past? When someone thinks about the way his body was in the past, the way his feelings were in the past, the ways his perceptions were in the past, the way his mental factors were in the past, the way his consciousness was in the past, when he thinks about these things and his mind is burdened by and attached to these things, then that person is pursuing the past. Bhikshus, what is meant by not pursuing the past? When someone thinks about the way his body was in the past, the way his feelings were in the past, the way his perceptions were in the past, the way his mental factors were in the past, the way his consciousness was in the past, when he thinks about these things, but his mind is neither enslaved by nor attached to these things, which belong to the past, then that person is not pursuing the past. Bhikshus, What is meant by losing yourself in the future? When someone thinks about the way his body will be in the future, the way his feelings will be in the future, the way his perceptions will be in the future, the way his mental factors will be in the future, the way his consciousness will be in the future. When he thinks about these things and his mind is burdened by and daydreaming about these things that belong to the future, then that person is losing himself in the future. Pictures. What is meant by not losing yourself in the future? When someone thinks about the way his body will be in the future, the way his feelings will be in the future, the way his perceptions will be in the future, the way his mental factors will be in the future, the way his consciousness will be in the future. When he thinks about these things and his mind is not burdened by or daydreaming about these things which belong to the future, then he is not losing himself in the future. Pictures. What is meant by being swept away by the present? When someone does not study or learn anything about the awakened one, or the teachings of love and understanding, or the community that lives in harmony and awareness, when that person knows nothing about the noble teachers and their teachings, and does not practice these teachings, and thinks, this body is myself, I am this body. These feelings are myself, I am these feelings. This perception is myself, I am this perception. This mental factor is myself, I am this mental factor. This consciousness is myself, I am this consciousness. When that person, then that person is being swept away by the present. Pictures. What is meant by not being swept away by the present? When someone studies and learns about the awakened one, the teachings of love and understanding, and the community that lives in harmony and awareness, when that person knows about noble teachers and their teachings, practices these teachings, and does not think, this body is myself, I am this body, these feelings are myself, I am these feelings, this perception is myself, I am this perception, this mental formation is myself, I am this mental formation, this consciousness is myself, I am this consciousness. Then that person is not being swept away by the present. Pictures. I have presented the outline and the detailed explanation of knowing the better way to live alone. Thus, the Buddha taught, and the bhikshus were delighted to put his teachings into practice. So I actually put the Chinese on purpose. I know most people have no idea. It's not like I read the sutras in Chinese, but because the Chinese translated them, and this is not a common sutra in the Chinese world. And in fact, it's quite a bit different than the way Thai translated it. So I'm not sure what happened. But the reason is the Chinese thought very carefully about how to translate terms. So you can see that the term burdened, like when you get submerged, it's like, because with characters, you can do a whole bunch of little things, like you can imply connotations. So very often the Chinese translate in ways that are very helpful. For example, when the Chinese decided to translate the word jhana, meditation, they translated it into the word chan. There are other ways to say meditation in Chinese, but they opted to say chan, which when written literally means one ancestor. Okay? Now, chan and jhana sound a teeny bit the same, so that helped also. But basically, they're implying that the work of meditation is to see that everything has the same origin. There's no separation. So that kind of touches on what we talked about a little bit before about, you know, what is meditation? You know, the Chinese give a very clear, just by naming it, they give you a definition. Meditation is when there's no separation between subject and object. Subject meaning I, object meaning everything else that I'm contemplating. So it's kind of really cool. So sometimes it's really worth, you know, kind of trying to figure out, you know, sometimes it's not so easy to find the sutras in Chinese because I'm not fluent enough to be able to do that. But then looking at like, how did they translate the, you know, a character, you know, what character are they using to say this word? It's very nice. So as I look at, you know, here I was, you know, I was building my beautiful life. This is the past. And I'm, you know, I'm dwelling in this, oh yeah, life was, well, life wasn't so great in fairness, but let's just pretend. You know, I'm like, no, we all go through this. We get our mortgages, we do what we can to have to adjust to the reality that we think we have. And whoops comes Corona and goes, hey, you know what? All this, for all you know, goes out the window. It's a huge threat for my sense of who I am. Who will I be post Corona? I mean, I think we're all contemplate this. We're all wondering, what will it, you know, we call it the new normal. What will the new normal look like? And we're a culture, especially I think for many of us, for most of us, especially if we are born in the U.S. or in you know, developed world, our sense of security is very strong. We've always been told that we are, you know, to expect things to be as they are or better. Now, if you were, say, born in Vietnam or China or India, you may not have that strong sense of, you know, things can change in a moment. If you've come here from a place that, because, you know, that has had radical revolution and are a refugee from that place, you know that things can change in a moment. You know, people who are wealthy one day, next day they have nothing. For us, it doesn't sound like it's possible. You know, we've seen people lose a lot of money in the stock market, etc. But we just, for people to literally have no passport, to have no nothing, we've always been secure. That's actually how most people have lived in history. You know, historically, the vast majority of people have lived with the knowledge that there's nothing I can rely on. I can't assume. But we're not. We're unique historically in that not only, it's not because I'm a lord or a prince or, you know, something unique that I have privilege. I'm unique in the sense that I was born into a whole culture that promotes that gives me that sense of security. So now, for us, it's an incredible shock to suddenly have. Now we've had some eras, you know, like 9/11 has given us certain senses of that. I mean, it's not like we've never contemplated the possibility, but it's a huge shock for us. Possibly, I don't know, bigger than for other people because we have a unique set of circumstances. So the purpose for us today is to look at what we thought was building our beautiful life, whether we have arrived there or not, or to what extent we have, and what does it mean to sort of ask, where is my beautiful life? And then to ask, is this my beautiful life? So I know the words of the songs are actually, this is my beautiful house, this is my beautiful wife. Where is my beautiful house? Where is my beautiful wife? And this is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife. So I just figured since I don't have a wife, but I do have a life, it's good enough. so, So just looking at how much change the world has gone through, and one of the biggest changes is that we have no idea how much of it will stick and how much, in other words, it's a change right now, but do we know what will happen in a year's time? Will we go back to how it was? Will there be a new normal, and what will it mean? And how much will we like it or dislike it? So times have changed. So we know theoretically that change is inevitable. We know that, we're all good Buddhists sort of thing, and we know that impermanence is the cornerstone of reality as it actually is. But then I'm looking at, okay, I know, but there's a part of me that doesn't adjust to it so nicely. It's part of me that's, even if I'm not resisting the actual, where it's changing to or whatever, I'm resisting, I'm saying, this is difficult. I don't like being here in the change. I want to know where it's going. I'm okay maybe with a change as long as I know where it's going, as long as I have a certainty. So that's the challenge for us. It's a big challenge for us because we're just, we in our culture haven't had much training in that. We haven't had much practice. We haven't had many opportunities to actually deal with it on a really practical day-to-day basis. So working with not having secure ground, working with this concept we love to say, the don't know mind. And how do we make it real? How do we make it, this is really what we're doing? And looking at that so that I can look at, this was me in the past, this is me in the present, this is me in the future, and not be burdened by it and not have attachments. Because at the end of the day, everything in the Buddhist teachings comes to, it comes to ignorance, attachment, and aversion. I don't like, constantly. And my ignorance is actually triggered by the I like and I don't like. And you can say the I like and I don't like come because of ignorance. It's the ignorance. I'm ignorant in the sense I think I have to protect myself. I'm separate than everything else. Subject and object are not one. There's no Chan. There's no one ancestor within me. So this I like, this I don't like. I have an attachment, I have an aversion because I'm not everything. I'm just me, my concept of me. But I can also say that these things are very natural. I mean, they're like it's like an instinct. It's almost a biological factor that happens. Everybody likes and dislikes. You drink something and you go, too hot, too cold, too sweet, too sour. I mean, there's like and dislike. It's automatic. Okay? It's what we do with it afterwards. So it's the capacity of saying, yeah, I didn't like, no big deal. It's just the nervous system doing its little electrical, rebellion, whatever, some little storm of neurons saying too bitter. And of course it's, well, it's not even easy with a bitter drink. If you ever drink Chinese herbs, you know that it's, something really bitter you don't, that, at least for me, I don't like. It's like, I kind of like, I shove it, into my mouth. I force it. But with life, it's a whole different ballgame, to go, oh, okay, it's because the rebellion is constant. I'm really well trained in rebellion, in going, no, I don't like this, I don't want this, and fantasizing what I would like, which is obviously not here and obviously not real, and obviously I may or may not get it. So to start flashing it out, and in related to, what Leslie was talking about in the sense of when I said, get into your mind. So in the next meditation, we're actually going to examine it. We're actually, how can we look into these things a little bit more and kind of flash them out? Because if we don't flash them out, we can't release them. Well, maybe some people can. I don't know. But I think it's very, for me, I'm the kind of person that I flash it out, and often, and especially things that I don't like, what I do is I I force myself to look at the worst case scenario. I always bring myself there. Because once I can accept the worst case scenario, I can let go of everything. If I say, hey, the worst case is blah, 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 and then I say to myself, can I embrace blah, blah, blah? Then I can let go of the whole thing. If the worst case scenario happens, I've already accepted it. I kind of, now, of course, I created control over the situation. This is not really don't know mind. This is not, I'm okay with everything, spontaneously. I'm actually creating a situation that allows me to be more comfortable with not don't know, but with more possibilities than I was willing to accept before. It's not the same as don't know mind. But it's gets a little closer. One does what one can. So um, the last thing I wanted to say, which relates to the meditation, is looking at in the Buddhist context, it's very common to define meditation as being composed of two components: shamatha, calming and stopping, and vipassana, looking deeply or having insight. So, of course, if you say stopping, calming, and having insight, of course, the first thing I want is insight. Who the hell wants to stop and calm, when you can have insight? It's like it's so much grander. But, and this is part of the reason for the meditation in the morning, the first meditation is to see that they're the same in some weird way. So I stop the habitual mind so that I can see more clearly and I can have, quote unquote, right view, vipassana. And looking deeply, the idea is that I then see impermanence, the interconnectedness, and let go of my notions. But isn't that exactly what I'm doing when I'm stopping my notions? So the stopping facilitates looking deeply. And looking deeply, when I can see that, I can stop more easily. So they're constantly interplaying. The only thing is, the one thing that I can, as related to, for example, the breath, Bambi, the one thing that I can, quote unquote, control, it's impossible to control, to induce, to force insight. Even though insight and calming, stopping are, kind of two sides of the same coin. But I can produce calming, stopping to the extent that I'm able to at that moment. So the work is, I release my thinking. And whoops, an insight came that, I can dwell in the place of, I just need to dwell. And there's an insight there. And it might go away. And then I say, meditation is no longer doing anything. It's no longer a process of letting go. It's no longer a process of calming, stopping. It's just a process of dwelling, being open. So there's the process of shedding and then being, and there's the constant interplay between the two. So just kind of to bear that in mind, which is kind of the morning meditation was a play on this theme from a slightly different perspective. So so hopefully we have enough kind of space within us at this point to start. So what I've done is I've got a list of questions that come up for me. It doesn't mean they come up for you. And basically just looking at these questions, just spend some time with each question. If there's something that comes up, some insight that comes up, or some question that gets triggered or whatever comes with these questions, then, you know, you can write it down on a piece of paper. So many, well, many years ago, sounds like it was in the 13th century, but, you know, when I first met Tai was still, every so often he did meditations where he asked people to bring out a piece of paper. And I remember this happened at San Francisco Zen Center, and people rebelled. They were like, you know, two things they rebelled against. One is smiling, and the other one's writing in the middle of meditation. Because, you know, Zen practitioners, they're very serious. Why do we smile? You know, just it's almost a contradiction. To smile and to meditate sounded like a contradiction. And to write was kind of like, wait a second, sitting is like sitting. You know, it's like you hold yourself, and if God forbid you move, you know, you're supposed to get slapped, you know, to remind you to sit upright or something like that. So it was kind of funny. So, you know, obviously I don't encourage myself or other people to every time I sit to write. I think that's a leak. I'm sitting and constantly have to journal. I mean, it's a little bit absurd. But every so often, I think it's very useful. So, and that's why this is our second meditation, because, you know, this is a meditation where, you know, you're, yeah, sure, you know, engage a little bit. So it's a little different than other meditations. So would people like a moment or two of break before we do the meditation? Or let me just, if you want to say something, if you want a yes break, unmute yourself. Otherwise, we'll continue. Looking for that, so we can have the bell. So the questions are actually on the, I can find the way to share. Yes, here it is. All right. So just find your sitting posture. Find a space in the mind.
Avi, your volume went down.
Let's just listen to 3 sounds of the bell. So with these questions, just let them permeate you. Don't look for an answer. Look for the question. The question is much more important than any answer. Just want the process of the questioning to awaken whatever it does. And if it awakens a so-called answer, that's fine. But it might awaken other things that might be way more useful than a so-called answer. So the first question to just allow enter the space of the mind is, what do I envision as the new normal? I might be going into full catastrophe mode in my own mind, where the new normal is total famine, there is nothing available anywhere. My new normal might be totally different. So do I see this as the end of humanity? the end of my culture, the end of my own lifestyle, inconvenient changes to my lifestyle. And I might see it many, many different ways. What scares me about my understanding of the new normal? And are the things that I'm looking forward to or hoping for in the new world? And if you want, take a moment or two to just write a word or two or a sentence at the most, if there's anything worthwhile for you to write about this question, about your process around the question. And now looking at different structures in my life, employment, financial structures, social structures, schedules, facilities, might be things like daycare, hospitals, or different institutions. Looking at structures that I create for myself, as well as structures that are external to me, that are created by others. Looking at my reliance on these structures. And then, do these structures constrict my life? Do they offer me freedom? And then contemplating freedom through discipline. And again, if anything comes for you that you want to write, take a moment. I recommend writing very short, 1 or 2 words. You can expand on that at another time. and looking at my sense of time, looking at time as moment by moment, looking at time in life, in my days, and also time in relationship to my own lifespan. Do I have enough time? Do I have too little time or too much time? Do I feel a sense of urgency? Do I feel a sense of spaciousness with time? If you'd like to write anything, take a moment to do that. Contemplating my sense of security, my sense of myself being secure, the sense of the world being secure. The things that make me feel secure, the things that make me feel insecure. And then asking myself, can I let go of security? If you'd like to write, go ahead and do that. And looking if there's anything that I can rely on. Is there anything that is constant, reliably there, always? now looking at what it is that I might want to transform. And then also asking at the same time, do I need to transform anything? So if you'd like to write anything down, and then looking at what it takes for transformation to happen. What does it mean to transform? Am I willing to be upside down in order to transform? To go through the discomfort of the process of transformation? Am I able or willing to let go of my ideas, of my mental attachments, of what I call myself, so that something else takes place? Contemplating my consumption, looking at the idea of simple living by consuming and habits around consumption, and looking at my true needs. And then also looking at simply living, the value of just taking care of this body, of the dishes, of cooking, of laundry, with no ambition. Do I need anything more than just to simply live? looking at my needs and ways of conforming, needing affirmations from others or from the environment around me, fears of not doing things right, especially in times of constant change, the need for clarity, the need for clear solutions. How do I express who I am? How do I get the sense of meaning, the sense of value in life? And raising any other questions, just allowing these questions to be in my consciousness without attachment, without being submerged by them. Letting questions arise and staying unburdened by these questions. So sitting with all these questions and also with not knowing, embracing not knowing.
you're just looking at the questions. If you want to look at your piece of paper also, that's fine. So looking at questions, perhaps any insights, and coming back to the mode of meditation as just being, and noting what happens to the questions, to my mind, to my body, when I move from doing, from asking, from questing, to just being.
Take a moment to massage any part of the body you might want to. And would people like to take a break before we start sharing? Unmute yourself. So why don't we take a like 2 or 3 minutes break so you can go to the bathroom, whatever, and then we'll continue with sharing. Is that good?
Yeah.
All right.